Hello, everybody. I'm Steven from VALHARTV, and today we're talking about The Boys Season 2, Episode 6, The Bloody Doors Come Off. This was a really good episode. I thought it was just as good as Episode 5, if not better. We get to see what's going on in Sage Grove finally. We get to learn really more about Frenchie. This whole episode was Frenchie centric. It was all really about his past. We also learn some more about Stormfront as well. But just to warn everybody, this has spoilers in it. So if you haven't seen the episode, please watch it first and then come back. And we're going to jump right in. So we start out 8 years ago where Frenchie's manufacturing drugs with Sherry and his best friend Jay. And he tells them a story about how the Golden Girls saved him in a dark period in his life, and that he's the Betty White of their makeshift clan. So I thought that was kind of cool. That was setting up some stuff for later on. And then we cut back to present day, where there's a thief counting money in an alley, and Stormfront and Homelander land, and they're to stop him, and they really start talking, getting real cozy and intimate with each other in the alleyway. And while Stormfront is massaging Homelander's crotch, he crushes the guy's skull, and then right next to the body, they have sex. I was like, they've got a pretty interesting relationship going on there. It was definitely another weird scene with them, but it was great though. They literally just don't care. And then we cut to Butcher and Kimiko watching Stormfront and Homelander do an interview on the set of the Dawn of the Seven, and they're being all cutesy with each other. And Butcher and Kimiko realize that they're sleeping together. And then we cut over to Frenchie cutting out Starlight's tracking device. So they get that out, and then they all go to the boys' headquarters. It's Starlight's first time there. And she tells them that she found some emails between Edgar and Sage Grove Psychiatric Center, is what it's called. And Butcher is like, that's interesting. We should go check it out and see what's going on there. And he's like, Starlight, you can come with us. And Huey's super surprised. He's like, wait, what? And he's like, well, I mean, if anything goes south, their bot's going to come after her and not us, because that's their $1 billion baby. So, they go and take off for that. And then we see the Deep go to see Maeve on the set at her trailer, and he delivers a camera from the wreckage of the plane in season 1 that Homelander and her couldn't save. And he says he doesn't know if it works because it's been there for a while. And Maeve tells him if he wants back into the Seven, he needs to keep his mouth shut. So they're planning something there with that, which, we'll see later on that will pay off. And then we go to Ashley and A-Train. And she's showing him a hip-hop video for his new anthem. And he's not really liking it, but he pretends to. And she walks away, and then he runs into the Deep, who tells him, hey, listen, I understand, what it's like to get kicked out of the Seven, but, I can help you with that. And he's like, do you want a fresco? Or a fresca. Not a fresco, a fresca. And the whole Fresca thing is like super. I don't get it because I haven't read the comics, but it's really funny when everybody's handing somebody a Fresca when they're talking to them. So now we go to the boys arrive at Sage Grove, and Frenchie and Kimiko are not talking to each other. And she apparently bought some brass knuckles that say "bossy" on them. So their relationship is strained right now. And then we go to a flashback of 8 years ago where Frenchie got caught for the bank robbery that he was planning, and he gets recruited by Grace, who's particularly impressed with his construction of a weaponized Xanax bomb that took out. I can't remember the superhero's name, but he was he used rage was his power, so he took him out with a Xanax bomb, which was really cool. So then we go back to Homelander and Stormfront on set, and Homelander asks Stormfront to, come into his trailer. He has a surprise for her, but she claims that she's got to go to VOT for a meeting with her social media guys, and she tells him she'll be back like real soon. So Homelander goes into the trailer and waits for her, and he's looking at a bouquet of roses that he bought her, and there's a little card on it that says "Thanks for the great day." So he's really into her, and she doesn't come back. She doesn't come back for quite a while, and he gets so mad that he burns his trailer down. He just literally blows it up. He just incinerates it. And then when Stormfront does return, she asks what happened, and he's like, "Oh, just an electrical fire, but I know you weren't at VOT." And she's like, "Oh, what do you mean?" And he's like, "Listen, I don't like being lied to." And he puts his hand around her throat, so she's scared. You can see it. And he's like, "You don't have to explain anything." And then we go back to Sage Grove, and Starlight is burning a hole in the fence to let Mother's Milk, Frenchie, and Kimiko into the building, and they're all wearing scrubs so they can pass as nurses there. And on the way back, she's walking back. Butcher takes the safety off of the rifle that he has because he's thinking about sniping her, and getting rid of her. But he decides not to pull the trigger. And then Starlight comes back and confronts him about his hatred for her and how it's rooted in his disgust for all superheroes. And then they watch Stormfront arrive. So Billy Butcher is like, "Hey, call MM and warn him because she's here." So they try to call, and then we see MM, Frenchie, and Kimiko. They get into the security room basically, where it has like the servers and stuff. And they start looking at these monitors, and they're all looking at these different patients that are superheroes. They're supes. They have all different types of powers, but they look like they're unstable. And then they look and see Stormfront on the monitors visiting a superhero, a supe patient. And alongside Sean Ashmore's orderly. So, we get to see Iceman in there. And Stormfront doesn't like the fact that the guy is like, "Listen, I'm not going to do any more of these tricks until I talk to my sister." So Stormfront walks out, and you see Ashmore take out a lighter and burn him to death. So that's where Frenchie and MM realize that that's Lamplighter. They've been looking for him for years because Lamplighter killed Grace's kids. He was also a former member of the Seven. So Frenchie, Kimiko, and MM grab a bunch of hard drives and try to leave. And then as they're going by, they see Lamplighter walking towards them, and Frenchie just stares at him, and Lamplighter recognizes them, and then there's a scuffle and a standoff, and Lamplighter busts open up a door where we see a patient named Cindy come out, who shows that she has the ability to crush, twist, and destroy objects with just by twisting her hand. So Lamplighter's trying to talk her out of like killing all of them, or well, killing him at least at this point. And she is like, no way. So then they take off, and she releases all the other, a whole bunch of other, I shouldn't say all of them, but a whole bunch of other patients. And they're all trying to escape as well. So we see Lamplighter and the gang go into a room and lock the door, where they start talking, and Lamplighter wants to escape on his own. He's like, dude, you guys are on your own. I'm getting out of here. And then a acid vomiting soup comes in and tries to kill him, and Kimiko saves him. So he's like, all right, I'll take you guys with me. He just changes his mind. He's like, crap, they just saved me. And then we cut back to A-Train and the Deep are having a lunch with Alistair, I believe is his name, at the Church of the Collective's Renewal Center. And they start talking, and the Deep basically tells A-Train that he's wanted to drown him in multiple ways, because he was one of the people that helped get kicked Deep out of the Seven. And at first, A-Train's like, well, I'm getting out of here. This is crazy. And Alistair makes it clear that they know about his debt, the compound V addiction, and his heart condition. So he sits back down to listen to what they say, because Alistair tells him that they can help him get back into the Seven. And then we do cut back to Sage Grove again, and this time we're seeing Butcher, Starlight, and Huey at their van, and a soup comes along and is like, hey, I don't want to get hurt anymore. And Billy's like, listen, nobody's gonna hurt you. Just keep going. We're not gonna stop you. And he has he emits a concussive blast that topples the van with Huey in it, and leaving him with a huge wound in his stomach, and Starlight without any powers. So they take off with Huey to get him to a hospital, and they flag down a car where the driver, they're like, we're going to commandeer your car. And the driver pulls a gun and says, no, you're not. I would have taken you to the hospital, but, now I just want to leave. So Starlight ends up using her powers on him, and they take the car and get Huey to the hospital. So he's going to be all right in like a couple of days, but they're wanted fugitives at a public hospital. So I'm kind of interested to see what's going on with that. Then we do cut back to Lamplighter and Frenchie and Kimiko and all them, and MM in a room where Frenchie's trying to make another bomb to put the soups to sleep so they can escape. They're waiting for the right time to escape and everything. And they start, going back and forth with the whole thing that Lamplighter killed Grace's children, and, how Frenchie left, like disappeared. He didn't know what happened, and Lamplighter asks Frenchie why he didn't stop him the night he ended up killing Grace's kids. And Frenchie reveals that he abandoned his duty there to follow him to go back home and revive his best friend Jay from a overdose. he OD'd on some drugs, and then he goes back and tries to find Lamplighter, and he finds him at Grace's house. So they ask if his friend lived. He said yes, but a few months later, he OD'd and actually died. So he really didn't end up saving him in the end. And then Lamplighter also reveals that he didn't tell the Seven about what they were blackmailing him, Frenchie and Butcher and all them, because when he went to Grace's house, he thought he was assassinating Grace, and it turned out it was just her kids there, not her. So he really reveals that it was a mistake, and they're kind of like, oh, damn, that sucks. And it's a really nice moment because they finally reveal, what's been going on between these two, people like Frenchie and Lamplighter, because everybody, nobody knew why Frenchie disappeared. Lamplighter didn't understand why Frenchie didn't stop him. So, and then when it gets explained, it's great. And then, Lamplighter opens up a little more and tells them about what Vought is doing at Sage Grove. Vought is conducting experiments to find a way to safely inject adults with Compound V to to make the Compound V stable for adults, so they can make superheroes as much as they want, because it takes hold best in infants, but when they when they put it into adult, they either have superpowers or they are unstable or they explode. So they're doing experiments to try to figure out how to stabilize that process for adults. So that's a huge reveal in this episode too for what's happening at Sage Grove, which is great because you didn't know until now. And then they escape. Frenchie, Kimiko escape, and they take Lamplighter with them, and they end up meeting up with Grace, who pulls a gun to kill Lamplighter, and Lamplighter is like, please do it. Please do it. You're going to put me out of my misery. And Frenchie pleads for his life, telling Grace that she can't hurt him any more than he's hurting himself. And Grace is like, so what do we do with him? And then they cut away to Maeve and her girlfriend, Elena. And Elena discovers the plane crash video in Maeve's possession. So, despite Maeve's telling her that she's sorry that they couldn't save the plane, and she assures her that she's going to show this to Homelander to get Homelander off their back, or it'll get leaked to the public. And Elena is just looking at her with disgust because she didn't know anything about this. And then finally we cut to the end of the show, where Stormfront is looking all over the place for Homelander, and she finds him at the Vought Tower, and she apologizes for lying, and she tells him that she's never going to lie to him again. So she starts by going to a trunk and pulling out a little bundle of pictures of her with an elderly woman, and then some other ones behind it. And she says this, and she shows him the pictures, and she says, this is my daughter who died a few years ago of Alzheimer's. And she, Homelander's like, what? And she's like, I was born in 1919. So she's like over 100 years old. She produces another photo. This one is with her and Himmler and Joseph Gibala. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. And then she shows her wedding photo of her and the original Vought founder, Vought, and they were happily married in front of a Nazi flag. So she's a Yahtzee, basically. And Stormfront was Vought's first successful candidate for Compound V. And she goes and tells him, you know, that we are in a war for the culture. The other races are grinding us down and taking what is rightfully ours. And you will be the man who leads us. Because he's basically everything that they dreamed of. Blonde haired, blue eyed, Superman, basically. And she tells him, I love you with all my heart. Why wouldn't I? You know, and Homelander is just like, he's shocked, but he grabs her by the face and then they start making out. And even I was like, well, what? I was like, wow, that's a little crazy. She just announces she's a Yahtzee, and then he's all good with it because she's like a mother figure to him or something. It's really interesting the way their relationship is going. But also, I think really he likes the fact that he is needed and loved by, you know, everybody, you know, like her especially, because he does like her. So you know, my concluding thoughts basically, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Billy, Starlight, and Huey in the hospital, because they're wanted. And it looks like the Church of the Collective is trying to recruit Soups for them, for their side as well, to maybe compete with VOD or something. That's not being revealed yet, and there's only 2 episodes left. So hopefully we get to see a little more with that, because I do like the Church of the Collective, kind of where they're going with that and everything. It's picked up since with the Deeps, who joined it reluctantly at first, and we can see that Stormfront is scared of Homelander because he's basically, you know, the most powerful person in the world. They've tested tons of stuff on him, and nothing really can hurt him. So there's that. But she loves him at the same time, and she wants him to be a poster boy for the Aryan race, and, you know, lead them in cleansing the world. And this is all shaping up to be really interesting. So again, I would give this an 8.5 out of 10 for this episode, because it is really good. And thanks a lot, guys, for tuning in. If you like what I do, please hit the like button and the subscribe button as well, as I'll be doing more reviews and many other things. So take care for now.